على محمد وعلي.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله على ما أنعم وله الشكر على ما ألهم والثناء بما قدم من عموم نعمة ابتداها وسبوغي لين نسداها وتمام من نولاها جمع عن العساء عددها ونا عن الجزاء يمدها وتفاوت عن الإدراك يبدها ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خير المبشرين والمنذرين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. أما بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dearest mu'mineen and mu'minat and friends, brothers and sisters, it is my honor once again to have this opportunity. How quickly the days have gone, and I think this is day 7 now or something, and so time is flying and the topics are flying by as well, and I find I'm not able to do justice to any topic that I open up. But at least it allows us to put some seeds plant some seeds into our youth for questions and for hopefully fruits that will blossom throughout the year. And so today we are talking about a couple of things, and one of them is my Islamic identity, and another one is positive change within the life. You know, when for example, when we apply for certain jobs, and there's many kinds of jobs, there's rarely a job in which one needs to maybe take an oath. But there are certain designations where an oath is actually required. And that means that you have to stand there and you have to maybe raise your hand or put your hand on your chest or put your hand on a book, and you have to say, I swear. So one example is when you go into court. When you go into court and you're going to give a testimony, then actually I don't even know if that happens anymore, but because what do they swear by now? I don't know. I mean, they used to swear in the Western world, they swore on the Bible, but that's probably out of style now, so maybe they just swear on something else. But they used to say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I think if I apply for most jobs, I won't have to do that. If I'm working in a store of some kind, I may not have to swear testimony. But maybe if I'm going to become a judge, a lawyer, I know in medical profession you have to. The medical practitioners still today, they swear a testimony. They swear an oath. So we have to swear an oath for what? I mean, we're swearing an oath that we will be ethical, that we'll be honest, that we will treat our patients with sincerity and justice and so on. So in certain circumstances, the identity that you have assumed requires that you bear a testimony. This bearing of testimony means that you are now in a very special circumstance and there are higher expectations of you. A long time ago, not for me, but now that I think about it, because when you're old like me, then you know everything's a long time ago. So I suppose 20 years ago. 20 years ago, which feels like yesterday, but I remember 20 years ago there was a case in Ontario with a doctor. And what happened was, this doctor was brought before the ethics committee, because every profession has an ethics board. So there's a medical professional ethics board. And when he came before the board, the reason he was there was because he had been driving on the highway. He worked in Kingston somewhere. He'd been driving on 401 and he got into a road rage incident. In this road rage incident, both cars ended up pulling over to the side. And then they both got out. So, you know, it was challenge upon challenge. You pull over, you pull over. They both pulled over. You get out, you get out. They both got out. They both walked up to each other and the doctor punched the other guy in the face. And the other guy got knocked out. And 911 comes and the hospital has to take him away. And so I think there were no legal proceedings that actually occurred or anything like that, but the ethics committee looked at him and suspended his medical practicing license for 6 months. And when the question came up, why have you done that? His argument was, I am outside of the hospital right now. I'm not on duty. I didn't punch a patient in the face. I wasn't in the hospital. I was driving off duty. The medical ethics board said, yes, but because of your designation, your occupation, your status in society, there are certain expectations of you. And one of them is that you will not punch people in the face when you're in a highway road rage incident. So they suspended his license for 6 months. I thought that was a very interesting case, because what it shows you is that there are certain expectations of you at a certain level. Now, we as Shia, we also bear a testimony as well. And our testimony is, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And as soon as we say this, we accept that we are created. And then we say, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And now we are saying we are not only created, but our Creator loves us, connects with us, does not leave us alone, and sends to us a holy messenger to guide us along every step of the way. So now what we have is, then we say, wa ashhadu anna aliyan waliyullah. Now we have accepted that we believe in imams, we believe in wilaya, we believe our imam, the 12th, is still here amongst us today, and therefore now we are bearing witness to that. Not only that, it was told to us that in the last day and age, Iman will be so fickle that a person will leave their home with Iman in the morning and come back with kufr at night. That means this is how dangerous and easy it is to lose one's faith nowadays. So they said that after Salatul Fajr, always recite Dua Ahad. And then in Ahad you reclaim your oath and your testimony. And you say, Allahumma inni ujaddidu lahu fi sabihati yawmi hadha wa ma ishtu min ayami ahadan wa aqadan wa bay'atan. And when you say ahadan wa aqadan wa bay'atan, you are renewing that oath with your imam, and this becomes your Islamic identity now. This means that you are responsible for many things. There are many expectations of you, and now you have a high standard of practice. That means that the ethics committee for you is, in some ways, it's of a higher standard. The expectations of me, once I have borne the oath and once that I have said the testimony, becomes higher. Now my responsibility becomes higher as well. That means now I am representing my imam. You know, we are the one sect of the one religion that have a living leader who is a hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amongst us. Though we cannot see him, but he is very much here. Though we may not hear him, he is listening to us. And does he speak to us? Absolutely, he speaks to us. He speaks to us in our heart. And this means that every moment, your imam says that when you are, not even, one person wrote a letter to our imam and said, oh, imam, please pray for me. Please pray for me. This was in the time of what they call ghaibat al-sughra, where some letters were still being exchanged. And it is said that this man said to the imam, he said, please pray for me, the enemies are after me, and I'm in great hardship and trouble, and so on. At that time, the holy imam writes a letter back and says that, when did I ever not pray for you? When was that moment when I was ghafil, when I was unaware of the problems you are having? If I had not been protecting you and not been praying for you, then the enemies would have ripped you to shreds very, very easily. The holy imam says that when you are done with your day and you are now resting and you lay your head down on your pillow, at that time speak to me. At that time talk to me. When you are alone, he is with you. This is when you are closest to your imam. And so your identity is your connection with him. It becomes very important to constantly connect with him to reaffirm that identity. That means that your identity truly is that you are a follower of the imam. Everything else you're doing now becomes a role that is a manifestation, a branch of that central identity. That means you represent him. That means when you sit here right now, you are not only sitting here as your role as part of this community, but also as a follower of your imam. When you go home, it is not just that you are a child or a parent or a brother or sister, but you're also one who is a follower of the Imam. That is your true identity. And that means that every moment we should be representing him in a way that when people look at us, whether you are at school, this is your mark of success. That when you're at school, people look at your behavior, and they ask you, well, how are you like this? How are you so patient? How are you so strong-willed? How are you so honest? How are you so just? How are you so compassionate, merciful, kind, generous, etc.? Do you have all these positive qualities? And that is when you say, it is because I follow somebody and I have learned it from him. This is your connection to your Imam and your connection to the people. You become an intermedium now. A man comes, people like to do tabligh, they like to go and preach. They want to knock on people's doors and they want to preach the religion to them and do da'wah and invite them towards Islam and so on. And in other religions as well. Maybe you have neighborhoods, I don't know, my neighborhood, for years there were knocks on the door every Sunday and the Jehovah's Witnesses would come over and they would always, have some question for me, and I ended up playing it back to them and reverse preaching them instead, so they stopped coming after a while. They would come and say, what do you think is the most important thing you can give your children? So they thought it was some question I guess I wasn't sure what they thought I would answer. I said, that's very easy, it's time. And they picked up their Watchtower magazine and that's what it said, time. The most important thing you can give to your children. So I said, yes, I already know that. My Prophet told me that. Do you want me to teach you about him? And so then, after a while, they just stopped coming. They realized that tabligh is not going to work here. But tabligh, a man comes to the Imam and he says that, I'm going to go on tabligh. Do you have any advice for me? And the Imam says, yes, don't open your mouth. And he says, what do you mean? I'm going to preach. I was like, no, don't open your mouth. Don't say a word. That is tabligh, through your actions. That means your identity is going to manifest through your actions, through how you treat other people, through how you look at them, speak to them, react with them. And so when it comes to this idea of my Islamic identity, understand that Islam is your Imam. That is Islam, that is Wilayah, that is Deen, that is Iman, that is your fiqh, that is your love, that is your passion, that is your target, that is your goal, that is everything. So now what happens is, the stronger our connection with our holiest Imam is, the stronger our Islamic identity is. And at one point, Amir al-Mu'mineen salatu wassalamu alayhi, when talking about the role of Imamat, says that the Imam is like a pillar of light. And this pillar of light shines up to the heavens and it manifests the nur of Hidayah in all directions. And we are receiving that nur, but we are receiving it through not a cell phone, but rather through your qalb. And that means there's a constant connection with your Imam. But your qalb needs to be pure. So that's why we have Sharia. That's the whole purpose of the haram and the halal, is so that we keep our qalb pure. Another way to purify your qalb is to shed one tear for Hussein. One tear for Hussein, and you walk out from this, from these mourning ceremonies pure as the day that you were born. And there's an incredible miracle in crying for Imam Hussein. It's so recommended that even the tear equal to the size of a mosquito's wing, it is said. And it is said that if one cannot cry out loud with buka, then to cry with a tear, and if not with a tear, then make a face. Making a face means that we maybe are not crying, but we're being told to make a face. That means to show grief. There's no other worship in which you show and you end up getting the result from it. I cannot show salah. I cannot just show the face of salah, do some qiyam and sujood without dhikr and get the thawab for it. But there is something about Imam Hussein, and Allah says, just even make a face, that's all. And He forgives us, He purifies us. And then we receive the connection from our Imam better. And then what happens is, we start to realize that we're constantly connected. With the Imam, there is not only an aqd, there is an ahad, and there is a bay'ah. And the aqd is your aqidah, and that is your creed, that is your set of beliefs, that is your shahada, that is what your perspective of the world is. You believe that you are in a world that was created by a being. You believe he is almighty and all wise and all powerful. You believe he sent messengers. You believe those messengers guided you to the imams. So this is your credence, this is your creed, your belief. And then, you have your oath. You swear loyalty to your imam. This swearing of loyalty, what it does is it makes you his soldier. It makes you his knight. It makes you his follower. It makes you somebody who has to answer to him. That means every night before I go to bed, I take accountability. How is my imam going to view my deeds of today? How will he view my speech of today, my thoughts of today, my emotions? And then what happens is, you have your oath of allegiance to him. This bay'ah, this oath of allegiance is to your imam as well. And so after Salat al-Fajr, we will renew that oath in reality at the time of the dhuhr. But before that, we are being told to do it every day before Salat al-Fajr. So therefore, even holding out your hand and imagining your imam is there with his hand over your hand and you are saying the oath of allegiance. This is allowing you to practice, because that time will come, and it is said he will come and he will be at the Kaaba, and then he will call all of his followers, and at that time we all have to get there as soon as possible. It is said some will take one step and their second step will be in front of their imam. But that requires a connection in a way. Your qalb manifests hidden reality in a way that it comes into being within you. That means your imam will exist in your qalb. It is said that he is like a sun behind clouds. And clouds are the weakest. Clouds are the weakest of veils possible. A cloud is just a veil of water. That means he's not really hidden. He is behind the clouds like a sun, but when you go outside and you find the sun is hidden by clouds, you still manage to know that it's day. It's not like it's suddenly nighttime. Clouds don't hide the light. Clouds don't hide where the sun is. You can still see where the sun is. You can still see the light of day. You are still benefiting from the sun. And that's why the Imam said, they will benefit from him like the people benefit from the sun when it is behind clouds. So he is still shining his light upon us. But as he shines his light upon us, we form our identity with him. So the one sentence I would say for Islamic identity is that you are his follower. And that is how we need to represent. So when we go out into the world, we don't need to try to be like someone else. Rather, we should show them how they should be. We do not need to lower our standards for them. Rather, they should raise their standards. So everything you do and say should reflect upon your imam, to the point where people ask you, who are you? And how are you like this? And at that time you say, I am a follower of him. And so your Islamic identity starts to form. But as your Islamic identity is forming, that identity is going to manifest, and it's something that you should be proud of. That means that it never at any point, it's hard. I grew up a bit in the West as well, in Western schools, going to schools. I would look at other children, and maybe at that time there were fewer Muslims in the schools and fewer foreigners like us, and it was a majority of a different race, a different culture, a different religion, different lifestyle. I could not understand them, I could not fathom them, I could not relate to them. Their parents were so different. Their parents would be drunk every night. They had a completely different life, and so I remember growing up with them, feeling sometimes inferior, feeling a complex, feeling like, how do I fit in? There is an urge to fit in all the time, and this urge to fit in is in our nature, but sometimes we actually have to realize that those who would benefit more if we didn't fit in. That means that if I fit in, become like them, they're not going to know the truth. They're not going to know the reality that I know. And therefore, maybe I shouldn't be fitting in. Rather, I should be showing my true self and showing what I really am, and not hiding my identity, but rather being proud of my identity. So this is how, I think we need to move forward, but it needs to be a constant discussion with your imam. And his ilham is what is going to inspire you. So you can talk to a friend. A friend will listen to you and empathize. You can talk to a relative. But no one knows you better than your imam. And if your heart is aching, then talk to him. If the world has made you sad, then talk to him. and you will see the difference that it makes in your life. And you may already be seeing that. I'm not suggesting you are not, but I'm just saying the things that I have found to be true, that I have found to be reality. And as we are improving this identity, I think that, there's something that is often said in the Quran, وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. There will be no fear upon them, and there will be no grief for them. These two statements are amazing when I look at them from a psychology perspective, because in this day and age, the most common mental disorders, if you want to call them that, whatever name you want to give to them, are depression and anxiety. After COVID, especially before COVID, it was rampant in society, and now it is even more in this Western world, which on the outside seems very beautiful and glamorous and full of ease and technology and advancement. And I think we're getting very good at screens. That is what we have become good at. 3D, 4D, 5D, UHD, and this resolution. That we are so good in the Western world at showing beautiful visions on screens, absolutely. But are we actually better as a civilization and a society? And this means that if you look at the number of people in North America that are taking sleeping pills to sleep, painkillers to ease their pain, antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication, it is not 10%, 20%, 50%, it is over 75% of this population needs some pill or the other. Now, I'm not judging. I'm not judging at all. There is depression. It's a real thing. And sometimes we need medication for it. Absolutely. Anxiety medication? Absolutely, it might need to be taken sometime. Maybe I've taken some of those things. Maybe I know people who have. Maybe I have recommended it. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, and sleeping pills too, absolutely, maybe they may be necessary. What I'm saying is that if 75% of your society is on these, and I'm giving you a conservative number there, 75%, it's going up to 90%. If most of our society is on some form of this type of medication, that means that our advancements, our technologies, we're not going in the right direction. That means there is something inherently wrong with the direction that humanity is going in. And this is only going to get worse. And as it gets worse, they are going to look for light. They are going to look for guidance. They will realize that ignoring the leader sent by Allah will never ever grant us success in this world nor in the next. As the wars increase, as the famine, as the drought, as the problems occur, you are going to be the identities that will show people what the truth is, what justice is, who is coming, when is he coming, how is he coming, and what is he coming for, and what is to happen. You will give them hope when they will no longer see any hope. This is how powerful your identity really is. And in this situation, when we are trying to improve, وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. I mean, if you look at your identity and your change, you are the people that can rise above this, When you look at khawf, it is fear, and fear is often associated with a futuristic problem, something I am anticipating about a danger that might occur that hasn't occurred yet, and I can start to get anxiety. That means thinking about problems that may occur in the future is leading me to this. And yahzunun, this is where we are grieving over mistakes, over things that we have done or things that have happened to us in the past, and they may be something we did or something that was done to us. So do you see how living in the past and living in the future is what is causing khawf and grief and fear and grief and so on? So how do we orient ourselves to live in the present? This is the thing. And the thing becomes self-analysis. There's something that psychologists like to call, metacognition. It is simply something that, of course, Amirul Mu'mineen, as-salatu was-salamu alayhi, suggested to us as beautiful advice 14 centuries ago. And he said that whenever you lie down to sleep, then always take account of what has happened in your day, take account of those deeds. And in that situation, what we're doing is we are looking at what has happened, we are looking at what we have done, and we are deciding if we acted with justice or not. So in this way, metacognition is the same concept, but psychologists call it metacognition because cognition is where your thoughts are, and meta is above. So it's like you've come out of your body and you're looking down at your own thoughts. Self-analysis and looking at your thoughts is very important. Don't overdo it. At some point I did, where I would always be obsessing over my thoughts. What did I think? Why did I think this? Where did it come from? What's going on? What is this leading to? But realizing at least this much, maybe look at your day, and or maybe look at 1 hour. I don't know. I remember I gave you an assignment some days ago. I forgot what it was, but it was about, I think, exclaiming your intentions out loud with every action you are about to do. I don't know if anybody did that or not. I'm used to it because in college, when you give these types of homeworks, no one ever does it, so don't worry if you didn't. I'm going to give you another one that you can safely ignore if you want to as well. But for 1 hour, analyze yourself and see how much of this time did I spend thinking about the future, about the present, and about the past. You will start to see where you are living. And you will find that most people are most of the time not living in the present. They are either living in the future or in the past. And what this does is this disconnects us from what we're supposed to be doing. And it disconnects us from our identity of the present. So orienting yourself into the present is always essential. And you do this by orienting yourself to your Imam. As soon as you remember him, you will be in the present. So that's your best way to go about doing that. And then what happens is, we are building ourselves constantly. The negativity around you will be found, and what I want you to notice and observe is that when you find companions in your life, the one that has the most iman, the most love for the Ahlul Bayt, the one that is most dedicated to his Imam, I don't know, there's different names used for these types of designations or statuses in different cultures, but whatever you want to call that person, a lover of Iman, a fanatic of the Ahlul Bayt, someone who's very much into, the proceedings that we do on Ashur and Muharram and Safar and so on. They're very much geared towards that, most of their life oriented there. You will find that the more faith they have, the more their manners, their ikhlaq is shining. The more they are willing to do for you, the more they are willing to sacrifice for you. With faith comes sincerity. With faith comes brotherhood, sisterhood. With faith comes generosity, bravery, selflessness, and sacrifice. And the more you find someone who loves Imam Hussein, the more you will find the more they are willing to do for you. When we are building ourselves, and the more you will find they are positive, the more someone is attached to the material world, the more you will find there will be a negative influence on you. And you will start to identify those negative influences. When you sit with a group of people and you walk away feeling like they have sucked the blood out of you, that means it was a very negative environment. When you find a group of people and you walk away full of energy, then that is a positive environment. Having taught at different colleges, if I joined a new college, I always find out about the work environment on the first day. That means literally on the first day, at the first break, what I do is I go to where all the other staff or faculty is having their snack time, lunch time. And I just sit down and listen. And I found two types of staff rooms. And you may have experienced this at work as well. One type of staff room is where every employee is bickering about their job. I hate this job, and this is the problem, and that's the problem, and this is what they said, and this is what that did. I know, oh my God, what's going on? Did you hear what they said? Yeah, I can't believe it. And they go on and on. That's 30 minutes of your time. You walk out feeling sucked out, all the life out of you. I walked in maybe like a grape, and I come out like a raisin. And so the other type of staff room is the one where they actually say, they don't talk about the job. They talk about, oh, so what are you doing this weekend? What's the plan? Oh, so how's your family doing? You'll find them talking about other things, This is a materialistic, worldly negative and positive, but identify the negative and positive influences in your life. Count it. People, listen to them. When they talk, a person is hidden under their tongue, Amirul Mu'mineen said. When they talk, analyze it. count the statements they gave, see how many of them were positive, see how many of them were negative. And the person of faith, the person of true iman, you will see that all of their statements will always give you hope and positivity. So when you surround yourself with positive people, automatically positive change starts to happen. That's why, it was said that go to the ulama, talk to the scholars, talk to the religion. The idea was that hopefully they're not going to make you feel horrible about yourself. Rather, they're going to give you hope and elevate you. They're not going to make you feel like a worthless, sinning person that just should burn in hell, but rather instead they're going to make you feel like you are a person with strength and faith. And then what you start to do is you improve. I mean, there are levels to improvement, right? And these levels, do I even know? I mean, do I know what level I am at? It is said in one narration that there are there's 7 steps in each level of faith, and there's 10 levels. That's 70 steps. 70 levels I have to gain. Have you ever played a computer game in which you have to go to 70 levels? Yes, no, maybe, perhaps? Or you don't want to admit it right now? It's okay, you can admit it, I'm not going to judge you. I played World of Warcraft. Don't tell anybody though. But that went up to like level 60s, And so if you are trying to play a game and go up to level 70, how busy do you get? As soon as you get home from school, you start playing. I gotta increase my level. I gotta increase my armor. I need a sword. I need to fight that boss so I can get this spell, this ability, this, that. And how much are we striving? And maybe the parents look at us and laugh at us and they're like, what are you doing? It's a make-believe world. It's not even real. And you're spending 6 hours a day on this your entire summer. But they don't know how much fun it is, do they? And there's a satisfaction in it, is there not? There's a satisfaction when you gain in that level and you gain in that skill and that ability. What if it was real? What if you were actually gaining real abilities? And that means, what if, their first level is actually called Islam, and that's level 1. And level 2 is Iman. And level 3 is Taqwa. And level 4 is Zuhd. And level 5 is Rida. These are 5 levels, there's 10 levels. And each level has 7 steps. Can we feel the ascension? Do we realize that Allah created us and made us creators too? There's a reason, there's better reasons why He called Himself Ahsanul Khaliqeen, but not to go there right now. But you too are a creator. But what He created is what came out of your mother's womb, and what we are seeing right now, this is what He created. What you are creating is inside, hidden by Him, only to be manifested later. Not to be morbid, but what He created came out of my mother's womb, and that is what you see. What I am creating is what is going to come out of the grave. And that is what people will see on Yawm al-Qiyamah. As I create myself, do I ascend to higher than the level of the angels? Or do I come to lower than the level of the human being? This is up to me, and this is in my hands. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that ability. And we know some are going to come out as cows. On the Day of Judgment, there's a cow passing by, that's literally a cow, no exaggeration. Like with moo, like the sound and everything, and the tail. And we're going to see dogs, and we're going to see monkeys, and so on and so forth. I do not expect that to happen to anybody who is a lover of the Ahlul Bayt, and anybody who comes to commemorate the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. I am not scaring you with this. I am just giving you good news that will not happen to you. But you will have a choice to build yourself to what level you want to build yourself to. There will be shifa on the Day of Judgment, so much so that it is said that even Iblis will come under the misconception that maybe he will be forgiven. So much forgiveness bestowed upon the people on Yawm al-Qiyamah. But there will be 2 types of, lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. One will be the type who will be asking for shifa, and one will be the type who will be helping them. And this will depend upon how we build ourselves. So the most positive change for me is to take 7 steps of Islam and move into Iman. And to take 7 steps of Iman and move into Taqwa. And and how do you know? You will know because he said, the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Ya Ali, hubbuka taqwa wal iman. Your love is taqwa and iman. If my love for them is increasing, for the infallibles is increasing, for Sayyidah is increasing, for Hussein is increasing, for his family is increasing, this is my hint that I am increasing in faith, that this is positive change. Has my prayer been accepted? You don't have to look very far nor wait till the day of judgment. Your prayer was qurbatan ilallah, and al-qurba is the one for whom you were told, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمُوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Al-Qurba is Zahra Salamullah alayha. She is Al-Qurba. If your love for her increases in your heart, know that that is Allah's way of telling you that I have accepted your prayer. That is Allah's way of telling you that I have accepted you. That is Allah's way of saying that you are improving, you are increasing. You know, Hur takes one step towards the Imam. One step, you know, and he is given that glad tiding of heaven. He takes one step, and Imam Hussein takes a step towards him. I take a step toward my Imam is taking more steps towards me. But no one took the steps like Imam Hussein. No one took steps like that. When he was going to look for that son, you know, it is said that parents love their children to infinity. But the Ma'asum, because of the purity and the proximity to Allah, loves the people who follow him 70 times more than your parents. I don't know what 70 times infinity is, but what I do know is that the purity of the heart increases the love. I cannot fathom the love that Imam Hussein has for his grandfather, for his mother's father, for his prophet, for the one who sometimes carries him on his shoulders, sometimes sits him on his lap. It is said that Imam Hussein spent less time in his childhood walking on his feet in the streets of Medina and more time in the arms of his grandfather. And it is many years that his grandfather passes away and he does not see him because he lost him as a young child. But then he gets married. And then one day, years and years, decades after, he is missing his grandfather every day. He is bestowed with a son. And this son looks like his grandfather, speaks like his grandfather. It is said that he walked like him. It is said that he resembled him so much that after Salat al-Fajr on the day of Ashur, when he said, "Dear father, I want to sacrifice myself," first Imam Hussein was ready to let Ali al-Akbar go to the field and martyr himself and get martyred. But all the companions stood before Imam Hussein and said that we cannot watch the one who looks just like our messenger drowned in his own blood in the sands of this desert. Oh Hussein, do not let him go before us. Let us die before this one goes to the battlefield. It is said that his love for him was so intense that whenever Imam Hussein was in Medina, sitting in his home, writing something, talking to somebody, doing something, when he saw his son pass by, he would stop what he was doing and he would say, "Oh Ali al-Akbar, can you walk back again just the way you walked? Because as you walked before me, I saw my grandfather before my eyes." It is said that when this prince was but 4 or 5 years old, a man came to Medina. And when he came to Medina, he had converted to Islam. He had only heard of the Prophet, had not seen him. Nor was he aware that he had departed from this mortal world. And he came to Medina to say, "I want to see the beautiful face of the man who has brought such a beautiful message." He goes into the mosque in Medina, and when he goes in, he cries out, "Where is the Prophet? Where is the Prophet?" And they give him the sad news that he has departed from the world. He sits at the steps of the mosque and starts crying and saying, "Woe upon me that I did not get to see the face of this man." It is said that someone comes to him and says, "Do not cry, let me take you somewhere." He says, "Where will you take me?" He says, "Nearby is a home. It is the home of Hussein." He says, why do you take me to this man, Hussein? He says, he is the grandson of the Prophet, and he has had a son who is now 4 years old. And when you look upon him, it is like looking upon the Prophet. It is said that this man gets up and hurriedly goes to that house, and when he enters, he is welcomed, he is sat down, and then the prince comes and he is in his father's lap. He looks upon the face of Al-Hussein, he looks upon the face of his son, and when he sees this son, all he can say is Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. He says that I cannot imagine I had never imagined how beautiful my Prophet could be. I never knew how beautiful Allah is until I looked upon this face. It is said that Imam Hussein looked at him and said, can you imagine this son of mine being injured, being wounded? It is said just the thought of it caused him to cry, and then he lost his consciousness for a while. He wakes up and says, oh Hussein, do not even suggest that before me. That is why it is not easy when we see that this young prince is being sent to the battlefield. It is said that when he is going to the battlefield, his father helps him onto his horse, and his father says, go now, go to the battlefield. But as his horse starts to move towards the battlefield, he hears the steps of Imam Hussein behind him, and he turns around and says, Father, you had told me farewell. He says, yes, son, but I just want to look upon your face one last time before you go. Can you do me one favor, that as you go to the battlefield, just turn your face and look at me one last time so I can look upon you? For Hussein knows he will not see this face the way it is now again, for he is about to be mortally wounded. And it is said that when he went to fight and he sent many to hell, one after the other, but the way these cowards acted was they started to attack all at once, and as they were attacking, Imam Hussein is alone now. All have gone, and he is standing there alone looking for his son, but he cannot see him. All he sees is the enemy surrounding his son, and he can hear his son shouts of takbir, and the sword is going and the heads are flying. It is said that at one point this young prince of Hussein gets mortally wounded, and as he gets wounded he falls from the horse. It is said that darkness started to spread throughout the plains of Karbala, and Imam Hussein looks for his son, but he cannot find him. It is said he is saying, Aina Ali Akbar, Aina, where are you? Oh my Ali Akbar, call out to me. Tell me where you are. Your father has lost his vision. Without you, Hussein cannot even see. It is said that he goes in one direction, but he is not finding his son. He goes in another direction. The one who mortally wounded this prince was Hasan bin Numair, and this accursed one had broken a spear into the chest of this young prince. When he is brought before Mukhtar, it is said that he starts to confess his sins, and he says that after I had mortally wounded the son of Hussein, I ran from there because I heard Hussein calling to him, and I knew he was coming, and out of fear I ran. But suddenly before me I saw the face of Al-Hussein, and when I saw him I cowered in fear and tried to run away. But then suddenly I realized that it seemed as if he was not seeing anything, and all he did was grab my collar and say, have you seen my Ali al-Akbar? Have you seen my beloved son? It is said that he goes in 4 directions, and he falls and stands 7 times while he is looking for his son. I do not know how the Holy Prophet saw this, for it is said that when the Holy Prophet was giving a sermon from the pulpit, and Hussein at the age of 3 came into the mosque and he was walking towards his grandfather, Hussein started to fall, and the Holy Messenger ran and grabbed him in his arms. And now he must be seeing Hussein fall and stand again and again. It is said finally when he reaches his son, he sees him, but he is taking his last breaths, and he looks upon him, and Hussein says, today I have become gharib, today Hussein is gharib. And Ali al-Akbar says, no dear father, do not say this, for I am still alive, and the one who has a son is not gharib. He says, my dear son, your mother waits for for you by the tents. Will you not come with me? And he says, yes, Father, I will come. He says, come, I will carry you. And he tries to carry his son, but when he takes one arm and says, put it upon my neck, Ali al-Akbar will not lift up his other hand, and he says, move your hand, my son. And when he lifts his hand, he sees the mortal wound to the heart, and he says, this spear must be hurting you immensely, my dear son. Allow me to take it out. And it is said that as he pulls it out, فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ.
نحن نصلي على محمد